Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. We want to thank WLA for allowing us to present today on equity, diversity, and inclusion at the library. We want to thank you for being here. We hope that you find this presentation informative and useful, and that you're able to take some of this knowledge and bring it back to your library, so you can also start the EDI committee, maybe, or start things EDI-tastic things.
Awesome. So we're going to introduce ourselves in just a second, but first we all want to acknowledge that the Kalahari is a problematic place in terms of cultural appropriation. If you were lucky enough to attend Ijoma Oluo's talk, keynote speech on Wednesday, or the pre-conference, you got some great information. Definitely recommend checking her out. Also check out WLA's statement on the Kalahari and FAQs on cultural appropriation. So we're gonna get right on it.
Introduction. So my name is Kelly Bolter. I'm a information services and also technical services librarian at Waukesha Public Library.
Hi everybody, I'm Khorye Huffman. I work at Waukesha Public Library. I use the pronouns she, her, hers, and I work in the circulation and special services. Yeah.
My name is Olivia Langby. I work in children's services at Waukesha Public Library, the company. My pronouns are she, her, hers.
Great. And my name is Paula Mason. My pronouns are she, her, hers as well. I work at the Waukesha Public Library in information services. We just want to give a quick shout out to Jill Fuller for adapting this awesome graphic. The original creator is Bodie. You've probably seen it around in the library world. If you're interested in some of the Wisconsin-themed graphics that Jill made, we have a link here on the slide, so you can check it out. We'll be sharing our slides with everyone, so you have access to that as well. All right.
So today we'll be discussing how we got into formation, how our committee was formed. We'll also be discussing what we've done so far, our initiatives that we've created, and our successes. Then we'll segue into the resources. We'll share how to. We'll also share how to start an EDI committee of your own at your own library, and then we'll start with a little Q&A discussion.
Okay. Okay. So we're just going to first begin with beginnings. How our EDI committee got started at our library.
So our origin story. Last spring in March, Paula and I had the opportunity to attend PLA in Philadelphia, and we were able to attend a slew of amazing workshops discussing EDI topics, inclusivity and diversity in libraries. And we had been talking kind of informally before attending the conference about, hey, maybe we can look at starting a diversity committee at our library. But PLA is what really gave us the formal conceptualization that we used to eventually create a proposal, which created the committee. So that spring, after we came back on that conference high, we met with our director to propose the idea, and he gave us the green light to go ahead and do some fact finding. And so we talked to the director of Racine Public Library, Jessica McPhail, and also Anna Rasmussen, who at the time was at Kenosha Public Library. Both libraries have been doing a lot of work in the EDI world of their libraries, and so we wanted to gather their experience, any tips that we could use in doing a similar thing at our library. So we took a meeting with them. We also did a lot of information gathering from GARE, which is the Government Alliance for Racial Equity. We have a link to some of their documents further on in the presentation. So the fact gathering phase allowed us to create the proposal, which we then took to create the committee.
Yeah, and at the same time, we were working on our strategic plan for the next 5 years. So we were really beginning to weave in more concepts of EDI into our mission and vision statements. You can check those out on our website. But that all sort of came together at the same time. And as Kelly mentioned, when we conceptualized the committee, we conceived it to be a non-managerial led committee from staff from different public service areas. So that really helped, we thought, in creating a culture of approachability at our library, in which staff members at any level of the organization could come and speak to us. Also, we we thought that it was important to create a culture of dialogue and discussion around EDI topics, and we felt that that particular structure worked well for our library. See here. Beyond that, by July 2018, we had our first meeting with the 4 of us, and then from there we began meeting monthly.
Okay. We've got some relevant names up here for approachability purposes. We did have some challenges, and we continue to have some challenges as a committee. As Paula mentioned, we are all public service oriented in our positions, so we all sit at a records desk or interact with the public. So scheduling has been challenging to get all of us in the room at the same time. Also, 3 of the 4 of us are part-time, so that is also challenging to make it work with everyone's
different schedules. Implementation has also been a hurdle for us. As everyone's mentioned, we intentionally created this committee with non-management staff. We do believe that it allows for more open culture and approachability as far as us talking about EDI issues. That sort of is a challenge, however, when we, we're not decision makers. When we want to implement our initiatives that you'll see in a little bit here, we need to have managerial buy-in. We need managerial support, and we've gotten a lot of amazing support, and some of them are in this room right now. Shout out to you. And so we needed to make sure that we were communicating effectively with our management, but also what we were doing challenged the traditional silos that we had at our library as far as the management hierarchy, departmental siloing that I think is pretty common at a lot of libraries. And what we were doing was shaking that up. And so it wasn't always easy, but in the long run, it was obviously a worthwhile challenge that we surmounted and still are surmounting currently. But it's a work in progress. But a great work in progress.
It's also difficult to get everyone within the same room because people have different schedules, they have different modes of communication, different locations throughout the building, etc. So you really want to ask yourself, how can I get everybody to be involved, to contribute in a meaningful way? How can we do this together? The key word is inclusion. You want to include everybody and get everybody on the same page. So just be mindful of that.
All right, and another challenge we imagine, just for like it is for us, as it is for all of you, is prioritization and time management. There's really just not enough daylight hours to do everything we want to do. But we found that the most important thing is just prioritizing which projects we can undertake and managing our time while doing so. We'll be giving some examples of those projects from the past 1.5 years, but our main advice is to focus on what you can do well, while keeping in mind your big picture goals at all times. It's also important for us to remember that EDI work is sometimes challenging and very often messy, but it's important to start somewhere rather than to do nothing at all.
Initiatives. So we're going to talk a little bit about what we've done so far. And the first big thing was our staff survey. So we rolled that out a year ago this month. We sent a link to a Google form that our staff could fill out. The goal of the survey was to gauge current interest levels and also knowledge levels in EDI topics. 55% response rate. And again, like we said before, this was a way for us to engage with our staff in a way that ensured that they hopefully felt heard. We haven't had a lot of opportunities at our library prior to this that really solicited feedback from our staff on a scale that we were hoping to accomplish. And so we had a lot of great feedback and found that our staff had a really exciting level of interest in EDI. They wanted staff training, things like speakers, workshops, And so we were able to take that information and use that to formulate other things that we've done. And I also want to give a little shout out to Google Forms as a free resource. It's really easy to use, and it's a great way, if you want to do a survey for your staff, it's a great way to just get that initial baseline knowledge of where they're at and what they want to see in the future.
All right, and another initiative that we is the Let's Talk initiative, which is inspired by Multnomah County Library's We Speak Your Language program. So Let's Talk is really just buttons that showcase the language skills of our staff and celebrate the linguistic diversity of our community. So staff members who speak another language or use another language wear little buttons that say either I speak whatever or I speak a little bit of whatever, which we hoped would open it up to include more of our staff. We hope to continue the initiative for spearheading some really great stuff with Bilingual Bites to become more of a continuing education opportunity for our staff. In fact, some of our staff have been so inspired by this that they have made it some of their goals professionally to work on another language from English. Some unexpected and really positive consequences of this initiative has been that there's better like inter-staff communication. So when a patron needs resources or help in a language other than English, it's good for staff to know who to direct them to. So that has improved inter-staff communication and ultimately services to our patrons. Do a click. Yep. Oh, there we go.
So another thing the EDI committee spearheads is Martin Luther King Day celebration within our community. We create a multi-departmental celebration for the community, for our public. What we try to do, we try to get everybody as involved as possible. We try to take the celebration beyond the sterilized look at Martin Luther King Jr. and the civil rights movement. And we've gotten inspiration from the King Center vision statement. It's really helpful. Please take a look at it when you get a chance. And we were just inspired by this. And what you can also make a Martin Luther King Day celebration as well. I put the emphasis on trying to make everything, you want to get your entire community involved, really. So ask yourself, what else is happening in my community on this day? Who has off work? Who has off school? And who's in between those spaces? So really, 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 just get your community involved and do your best and make this a day to celebrate.
Okay, so one of our large projects as well for 2019 was to launch an all-staff training in which we talked about basic concepts of EDI in the library setting. We wanted to offer this training to not only kind of create a baseline knowledge for our staff, but to get people talking about EDI topics from different departments. That doesn't always happen so easily. As Kelly mentioned, sometimes it's really easy in the library world to be siloed within your own department. We've held 3 out of our 4 trainings so far, and we've received awesome feedback from our staff from them. In terms of how we created the presentation, we pieced together resources that were out there from other libraries, from EDI work that's open to whoever wants to, dive into it on the internet. We're happy to share our resources regarding that. Our recommendations, though, it would be, this is not really a one-size-fits-all type of training. We tailored what we found to the interests and needs of our library. We would definitely recommend maybe trying to get a gauge of where your library's at with something like a survey before launching a training. And it's also important to realize, or at least it was for us, that you can only do so much in a single training. It's just the beginning point. It's not a one and done type of thing. We didn't want to sit people in front of a webinar and say, peace out, where you're done. Afterwards, we want this to become an ongoing commitment to EDI topics. So following our training sessions from this past year, we have now ideas from our staff members about specialized trainings that they'd like to continue for 2020. So that'll be our goal looking forward, will be to continue in this vein of staff training for different EDI related topics. Let's see, yeah, I think that's about it on that topic. And I'm also just going to briefly discuss some policy changes that we had different aspects of involvement in. So last year, DPI released a rough draft, I believe, of the Inclusive Services Assessment, and some of you may have been involved in that, or maybe you took the assessment. We heard about it and thought, wow, this is awesome. We discussed policy changes or things about policies that we thought didn't necessarily serve our public super well through an EDI lens. And this tool gave us the chance to really look at where we're reaching the public, where our policies may be falling short. It ended up just being an excellent exercise for us to take. And we are continuing in the vein of looking at policies. This is sort of an ongoing effort. Just some examples from the past year that took place at our library for policy changes that are EDI centric. Late fees were removed from children's materials. So we'd like to thank Khorye Pinker, our children's manager, for really spearheading this. Let's see here. Also, guest policies, or excuse me, our guest pass policy was relaxed this past year to better reach more users. We were we had a lot of rules around that in the past that we lifted because we realized we didn't need to be regulating that to the extent that we were. We also removed computer time limits on our public computer stations. So while we weren't necessarily the ones writing that policy, our managers and directors were the ones taking that on. We feel that the EDI committee helped open up discussion about those topics with the whole staff and better understanding why we are making these changes. Sometimes that first hurdle is the hardest part, to just rethink why we have policies the way that we have them and how they can better serve our public when we change them. So this is a continual work in progress, and we hope to continue revisiting our various policies, but it takes time, as you all know, to do so.
Yeah, so DIY EDI, you can do it yourself, equity, diversity, and inclusion. So you want to ask yourself, what can I do for my community? What can I do for my library? Because you can make that difference. You can go out, talk to your community, make some discussions, make things happen. So I would like you to turn to your neighbor. If you have a neighbor, find a neighbor, please, and discuss these questions that are on the board right here. And ask yourself, what can I do? Because ideas, they lead to discussion, discussion leads to action.
And if you're watching virtually, please take a little bit of time to think about this. If you want to submit it in the chat, that would be great too. So, hi.
And don't leave the session without an idea of what you do next. Please.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, bring back the conversation. Good job, everybody. So we're going to ask you, what conclusions did you come to? What are you going to do next?
So go ahead and raise your hand and I'll bring you the mic. Go for it. Don't be shy. You can do it. Yeah. Back there. I'll do Duck.
I'm never shy. I live in a smaller community in northern Wisconsin, and because we have agriculture, we have farmers that hire the Hispanic community. We have nothing in our library that's written in Spanish for signs. So that is something that I know that I want to do and will be doing.
Awesome. Yeah.
Anyone else got something? You want to share? Yes.
We just, actually last week, had someone come in from our library system who did a presentation. We did a staff and service where we closed for the day and had them come in and talk about this exactly. And we formed a committee that we, in our community, and we're even trying to link within our whole community. And our community is kind of on board with it too. So we're just kind of starting the same process right now. So.
Awesome. Yeah.
That's fantastic. We probably have time for one or two more. Do you think?
Yeah.
Yes.
So one of the things that we talked about was making the work environment more comfortable for people that are from traditionally underrepresented groups. So doing a lot of work with staff to make sure that they're really well versed in these issues, and that when you're hiring people from these groups, that they're coming into an environment that's comfortable for them to work.
Olivia?
Yes. I think we've got a virtual person.
Yes, Kelly says, I am from the Platteville Public Library. What we do already is have bibliographical information about acceptance and transgender books and materials in our library, and we also have a language resource collection. Thanks, Kelly.
Awesome. You guys are doing great work. This is super cool. Scoot back up here. And we're doing good for time. Awesome. So I think we're going to move on to our resources. So I'm super excited to hear about all of the great stuff that you're already doing. That's okay. These are also resources. These are some resources from our staff training that we did. So we've included a PDF version of the PowerPoint slides that we used. Again, this will be on the WLA website. So you can go ahead and click these links. They should hopefully work. We tested them, so. We've also got some really great library-specific scenario questions adapted from the Deerfield Public Library. These are great for starting a conversation about starting a conversation before something bad happens, which is really important to be thinking about EDI topics always. Really, proactive. Thank you. We've also got a great video from Teaching Tolerance about intersectionality, which can be a challenging term for a lot of people. And of course, Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie's TED Talk, which if you haven't watched yet, definitely give it a watch. It's great, and it's really great. So we're providing you these resources with the hope and expectation that you take them back to your library and do some actionable change. Again, Ijeoma Oluo had this great call to action at the end of her keynote, which if you attended, was so cool. And I believe a recording will be available as well if you don't feel late. Make sure that you do something with this. Continuing education is for action. And so I hope that you find something here that you can take back to your library.
Some more resources. I know we talked a little bit before about the DPI Inclusive Services Assessment. We are providing a link to their page here. We really recommend that you check it out. I can't say enough how valuable the tool is. It's a great place to start. You know, if you're just thinking about these ideas, you know, where is my library currently regarding EDI? Where can we go? It's a great checklist. You know, it takes you through literally every aspect of library services. Really comprehensive. So it's a great place to start to kind of get, you know, in on the ground floor with EDI at your library. And also, we just want to say how much we love what the DPI is doing in our state. They've really taken it upon themselves to formally address EDI in libraries and other governmental organizations within Wisconsin. So thank you for your work on that. It's been really valuable. And also, I mentioned when Paula and I were forming our committee, we took a lot from the GARE curriculum. So we do link here to their Advancing Racial Equity in Public Libraries document, as well as their Advancing Racial Equity and Transforming Government. As public librarians, we are government workers, and you know, we're all passionate about this work, and so many people are, but it's also our responsibility to address a lot of the inequities that have been perpetuated by governments over the years, that we, you know, are finally examining the effects of those structural damaging things that have been in place for so long. So it's really a great call to action, and it allows you to take ownership as part of that structure to begin dismantling those things. And then we also link to PLA's Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Social Justice Initiative. Like I said, last year at their conference, they did a great job of assembling a lot of workshops and seminars related to the topic. They've included EDI in their strategic plan, most recent one, and so it's an area that they're really focusing on you know, very well. And so it's exciting to see that at the top level of our professional organizations. So check it out. If you are not a member, I'm not sure, I think they do have resources available publicly, but if you are a member, definitely take advantage of your membership and dive into those roundtables and resources.
Absolutely. Okay, and some quick shout outs. So these are just, it's a short list of some libraries that helped inspire us or that we spoke to along our journey. So I won't read those to you, and it's not comprehensive. There are tons of libraries out there doing amazing things, but we, like in librarianship, we're always borrowing ideas from each other and sharing ideas, and we continue to do this. But as we were forming our committee, these were some libraries that helped us along the way. We also want to say thank you to our director, Bruce Kay, who helped be on board with this and gave us the green light right away for beginning this committee. That was huge. And as mentioned by Kelly, we want to thank DPI. Also, the Bridges Library staff has helped us along the way, and PLA for spearheading so much related to EDI. So just a few quick thank yous, and I think we're just about finished with
one of the thank you.
Yeah.
What, I just want to know what was said here. Don't just leave it in this room. I want you to take the information you got and share it with your library. And then once you've discussed it, make an action out of it. Like actually do something for your community. But thank you all so much for coming to our presentation. Like it means a lot to us, like a lot. And we really appreciate it. So thank you. Thank you very much.
For questions, so we're hoping, yes, I'm gonna run around.
Can you talk a little bit about what resources you use to develop your staff survey?
Yeah, I did for that one. We were just brainstorming amongst ourselves. We asked a lot of basic questions like, how familiar are you with EDI personally? You know, we had like a scale of 1 to 5. How familiar are you with EDI in a library setting? What would you like to see at your library? You know, we had things like brown bag lunches, speakers, workshops, seminars. So yeah, the survey was really just baseline things that I think we came up with collectively, and it could look different at your library too. But yeah, we just thought it was a good place just to start at the most basic level.
And also thank you to Angela Myers from Bridges, because she took a glance at our survey before we sent it out to our staff. So it's always good to get an extra pair of eyes maybe from outside of your organization to take a look at surveys. But we wanted to make sure that our survey included spaces for people to put in written comments as well as multiple choice items. So we're thinking it would probably be worthwhile to do surveys like this on a more regular basis as well. Yeah. Any other questions related to that? Okay.
I just wanted to say, back to the DPI assessment guide, when you first open up that link and you look at that document, it's going to scare you.
It's a little overwhelming.
It's going to scare you. I was part of that initiative. But what I want to share with you is that it's set up so that you can break it down into pieces. So look at all of those sections and look at the pieces that you think that you can accomplish first. So you at least have that feeling of accomplishment, because it is a large document. And there's a lot of good and just really great stuff there, but break it down and put it in perspective for your library.
Absolutely. Yeah, and thank you. And Rebecca, I think whenever, yeah, we have an online question. I also want to say that the DPI assessment is a great resource no matter what kind of library you are. I know it's intended maybe for more public libraries, but whether you're a small library or large, it's really important and a really good resource.
Other questions?
Was there a good definition that you were able to use with your staff initially to talk to them about EDI to simplify or clarify it better?
Yeah, good question.
Yes,
There was.
Do you want to?
Oh, have it. You want it? Say something and then I'll go.
So,
We used this, so what stuck out to me, we used this graphic. It was, there were people, they were standing at a fence watching a baseball game. Oh wait, it was a picket fence. That was really helpful, or at least I thought it was really helpful because it offered visual. So they're standing at a picket fence, then they're standing at a fence, and then they're out in the field. But it's supposed to help with imagining what equity looks like versus equality, and what you eventually want to reach out to justice.
We also got our definitions for all of our staff training from ALA's website. So that was a good resource that we used. We also used for equity, explaining equity, we went to a really great GARE workshop, which was awesome, and they used this great example of that's really relevant for libraries, of the disparity between the lines in bathrooms, because this is a women-dominated field. And so we talked about what that would look like, what equality looks like, which is kind of what it is now, what equity would maybe look like, and what justice would look like in the future. So that was actually really helpful, I thought, to explain a kind of challenging concept to anyone else.
Oh, and also for our library too, I think one thing that was really neat with our staff trainings was that there were staff members in the room outside of just our committee who did an awesome job about speaking about these topics and really have continued a lot in their own professional development of that area. So as Khorye was mentioning, the graphic that a lot of you are probably familiar with, there are also staff members in our building who maybe they're in the areas of maintenance, or their professional development is really different from that of the library public serving staff members. So just getting everybody in the same room and sharing that knowledge in a way that doesn't necessarily feel like top-down teaching, but rather just discussing helped a lot. And our own staff members were awesome in compiling their knowledge on those topics.
And to continue that, I also want to say that staff training was a great opportunity for us to be able to convey the importance of the concepts as far as staff-to-staff relationships. I know it's like a lot of what we talk about is like how we as staff serve and interact with the public, but it's very important also to keep these things in mind when we're interacting with each other. You know, we're coming at our profession from a multitude of different backgrounds, and so we can't lose sight of the fact that, you know, it's just important to be respectful and open to each other as it is with the public.
Okay. Other questions?
By and large, it seems like everyone here is on board and positive about this. How do you guys, excuse me, deal with the folks who are resistant or negative to this concept?
Yep. Well, wait.
Yeah, that's a great question. And we have encountered a bit of that, I would say, in our work on the committee. I think what we want to do primarily, obviously, is create a culture of dialogue, and it's really important, if somebody is negative or combative, to make sure that we're listening to them. And again, going back to having a culture of respectful dialogue, we might disagree, of course, but we do want to make sure that everybody feels listened to, even if we don't agree with them. And so I guess as far as like the work that we've done, is, in our initiatives, we take their feedback into consideration. If there's a nugget there that's like, oh, be mindful of this, but at the same time, I think the importance of EDI work and instilling equity into our work is paramount.
Oh, sure. And I'll just add on to what Kelly mentioned. I think that one thing we knew going into this as well, and you probably know this too at your libraries, is you sort of have an idea where you might meet resistance beforehand. So it's one of those things where it would be worse to, again, just not tackle it for fear of it becoming uncomfortable. It's better to just rip off the Band-Aid a little bit and talk about things. And we think that by having the trainings where we have staff from different areas discuss their experience helps break down those barriers and build empathy, perhaps, among more of the participants if they maybe didn't necessarily understand where someone was coming from in a certain scenario. So I think that overall things have gone smoother in that sense than what we feared, perhaps, initially. Yeah, anything else?
We just want to remind you to lean into the discomfort. Equity is for everyone, and just do your best, get creative, and all that fun stuff.
All right, another question from online. Stephanie asks, do you have any nonprofit partners in the area that aid with additional training, workshops, and or new programming initiatives?
Yeah, well, our MLK celebration was a great opportunity to engage with community partners. Our capstone event for that was a screening of What is the Doorstep, which, yeah, it was amazing. If you haven't seen it, it's about the murder of a young black man in Milwaukee, Patrick Hamilton. We were able to screen it at the Civic Theater, which is in downtown Waukesha, and we in exchange, so for using the theater, the library committed to creating funds for the theater, to promote their new plays and doing displays and things like that. So, yeah, MLK was a great opportunity to partner with them. We also reached out to Sophia, the faith community in Waukesha, when we were doing our sort of guerrilla marketing of the event. We did an email blast to them, and they were able to relay the event details to their congregations. So, we hope obviously to build on that in the future, and so, yeah, we'll see where we go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. And as Kelly mentioned, we really do hope to continue in that we have lots of long-standing partners that we work with in other areas of our programming here at the library. So certainly we thought about all of our traditional marketing venues, so to speak, or modes of getting the word out. But we thought it was, in terms of EDI, we really need to think of where are we falling short and who we're not reaching. So we're hoping to continue to analyze this and get the word out to people who may not already subscribe to our newsletter or our patrons who are not necessarily our regular library program attendees. We want everyone to feel welcome, but part of that is always trying our best to reach people from the underrepresented areas of our community. So we did, as Kelly mentioned, some guerrilla marketing, got out there, and also tried to spread the word in southeastern Wisconsin. We know other libraries are doing awesome work around EDI and programming like this, so We ended up having a great turnout for our event at the Civic Theater. And we know that it's also the beginning. It was our first ever Martin Luther King Day celebration. So we know that hopefully it should keep growing from there. But people actually called the reference desk from different, I know we had different community organizations and were inquiring. So that was really awesome too. So we hope to just continue building in that sense. Okay, other questions? Where are we at time-wise? Yep, I see a question.
Could you repeat the title of that film you mentioned?
Sure, The Blood is at the Doorstep. Yeah, and we had a panel discussion following the showing of the film. We had two of Dante Hamilton's brothers were there, his mother, and a university professor in criminal justice and sociology from Carroll University. So, and Reggie Jackson was our moderator, who does awesome work. Yeah, it was a really fantastic event, and we are prepping now for next year, which is right around the corner. All right, anything else?
Can you mention, you may have done this before I walked in, but who Reggie Jackson is in the organization, since they were asking about community partners?
Sure, absolutely. So Reggie Jackson, he is with Nurturing Diversity Partners and also the Black Holocaust Museum in Milwaukee. And if you've never seen him speak live, you can Google him and probably, I'm guessing, find some videos of presentations that he's done. We had him at our library a few years ago to talk about segregation in Milwaukee, well, it was Waukesha County, but he ended up talking about the whole southeastern Wisconsin area. He's a historian. He speaks to a lot of the issues that talk about racial inequity especially in the greater Milwaukee area. So, and I don't know if you have anything else to add to that, but he's amazing. Seek him out. He's very approachable and is used to working with libraries as well. Okay. Anyone else? No? Okay, well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well done. Well done.